June 8th, 2021 school committee meeting. Tonight's meeting is being broadcast live by the two fine gentlemen at Lynnfield Media Studios, as well as live streamed on the Lynnfield Public Schools Administration YouTube channel and being covered by the print media. We have a very full agenda tonight and happy to get to it. There's some great things. First item on the agenda, we have the meeting minute approval from the May 25th meeting. If I could have a motion.
Move to approve the minutes for May 25th, 2021.
Second.
And just because we're wearing masks, we'll take a roll call vote. If I could have Mr. Heyman.
Yes.
Mrs. DePrizio.
Yes.
Mrs. Dahlstedt.
Yes.
Mr. McQueen.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. And now I will turn it over to Superintendent Vogel as we honor some retiring staff from the district. It's one of those things that it's a great thing and a terrible day. At the same time, we hate to see them go. Mrs. Vogel.
Thank you. It's my pleasure this evening to recognize 4 fantastic educators who are retiring from the Lynnfield Public Schools. We have 3 of them with us this evening. I'm going to ask Ms. Weiland to come up and join me to start our recognitions. And as is tradition in Lynnfield Public Schools, we have purchased a book that is reflective of the interests of our retiree in hopes that they will have time to enjoy reading and trying out whatever might be in the book, reading or cooking or whatever it might be. Lisa Ternello. Where's Lisa? Come on up. Lisa started in the Lynnfield Public Schools in 2001 as a paraprofessional in kindergarten at Huckleberry Hill School, and next served 20 years as a kindergarten classroom teacher. During her years as an educator in Lynnfield, Lisa has been a leader integrating technology into instruction, meeting children where they are, advocating for additional supports needed at home or school, hosting social events for staff to create a school family, and has been a mentor to many, both professionally and personally. And the book we chose for you is Giada's Italy. We know that you have a love for Italian food in Italy, so
I do.
congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Kathleen started in the Lynnfield Public Schools on September 25th, 1998 as a kindergarten teacher and then moved on to 2nd grade. She taught with her heart and provided staff and students all the love and support they needed to be successful. Her strong connection to our school community was easily observed in the classroom during walking club and fine arts night, talent show, the list goes on. Kathleen is a true Huckleberry hero. And the book we got for you is, we know that you have a love for soccer, so we got you One Life by Megan Rapinoe. So I hope you enjoy.
Thank you so much.
Ask Mr. Cleary to come up here and join me. Joe DeBias. Joe started in the Lynnfield Public Schools on September 1st, 1989. As a LHS teacher and coach, Joe cares deeply about his students and athletes. His career has been about building positive relationships. As much as he pushes them academically and athletically, he is always more concerned about their personal growth and well-being. We know that he has very much a love for the Yankees, so he has the 100 years in pinstripes in your Yankees and photograph. Who has been a long-term administrative assistant in our counseling department, is retiring, and she's not here this evening to join us, but we do have a book for her, which we'll get to her.
She called back up and let them take a photograph together.
Yes. Can our 3 retirees come up, take a picture? That'd be great. Thank you for the reminder. Yeah.
Jeff,
No,
just
Over here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole board can get it if you want.
I know. Good.
Both together.
Oh.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So if I could, before the retiring teachers escape, you know, I've had the good fortune of having my 3 children attend all the way through from K to 12 in this district. And each and every one of you have been an effect and established a foundation and been such great benefit. Mrs. Tornello, you have my kids in kindergarten. We couldn't have been more happy. Again, I think I told Melissa, my only regret in Huckleberry is that we never got her as a teacher. But we're so grateful for everything you did for our family at Huckleberry. And Mrs. DeRosa, it goes without saying that you are the ultimate Huckleberry hero. The work that you do, you know, from 8 to 4 is only one part of everything you do for that building and everything you do for all of our students. And I couldn't be more grateful for you and having had the opportunity to work with you in this district. And Mr. Tobias, you are a legend. And that title does not come lightly and is not earned easily. Again, I've had the benefit of my children enjoying you as a teacher. And again, that status as legend is etched in stone. And again, we are grateful for everything you have done over the years for this district and our children. So to each one of you, thank you again, and have a great retirement.
All right. Mr. Dolan? This evening we have Rob Dolan here to speak about Article 13, which will be voted on at town meeting.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, as you know, this Saturday will be our town meeting. A little different, hopefully the last COVID town meeting. However, some people do like it outside. And the weather looks to be pretty good today on Saturday, thank God. There are several articles that are critically important. One, as you always do, I'd like to ask the citizens of Lynnfield to participate. It's their opportunity to have a voice in their town in the future. And in fact, on that day, their vote will be as important as any selectman or school committee member or any elected or appointed official in the town. And there are several articles of importance, including the budget, but Article 13 stands out as an issue that this school board has championed over the last 2 years, which is our school project. Last week, the select board voted to endorse unanimously Article 13. It is my hope the FinCom will do so in 1 hour, which is an article appropriating funds for our elementary school expansion project to fund additional neighborhood and safety upgrades, as well as adding funding to the project contingency as we prepare to open bids on July 8th. I come to the school committee tonight to seek your endorsement and active participation in support of this critically important article leading up to our town meeting on Saturday the 12th. It is fair to say that if Article 13 does not pass, the school expansion project, which includes additional classroom space and site improvements at both the Huckleberry Hill School and the Summer Street School, is in serious jeopardy and may not happen. Article 13 calls for $1.75 million in funding through a municipal bond to be paid for within the Proposition 2.5 limitations, so there will be no additional taxation needed to pay for this critical investment. The appropriation is broken down as follows with explanation. One is $700,000 for drainage work. Through many meetings with abutters in neighborhoods, not only abutters of the school, but in that entire neighborhood, we learned about significant flooding that has caused considerable property damage for well over 25 years. Flooding, in fact, has gotten much worse in the area since the last expansion 15 years ago. An engineering analysis identified many issues that contribute to this destructive flooding in that region of the town. The causes are due to inadequate infrastructure in the area of the town and a failure to adequately mitigate water displacement during the last expansion project 15 years ago. These conclusions have been confirmed by our town engineer and an independent consulting peer review firm. The stormwater management bylaw, which wasn't in fact intact 15 years ago, requires full remediation of potential flooding resulting from this project. Currently, this project does not meet this condition. This additional funding will provide for full remediation of all of these issues in the neighborhood. The project must comply with the stormwater management bylaw to get the approval of the planning board in order to proceed with the project. That's our largest stumbling block. And the planning board plans on meeting on June 27th. Since the ground is open, it makes financial sense, and from an engineering standpoint, it makes sense to fully address the flooding in that entire neighborhood during the time of construction over the next 2 years. This can be accomplished with this appropriation. Neighbors at both schools, in fact, have provided clear evidence through timelines and pictures that they have suffered long enough with flooding and damage caused by past actions. We need to fix it. The second is $110,000 for an enhanced bi-directional amplifier. As we know, schools throughout the nation were built using thick cement walls throughout the structure. Many older schools were actually bomb shelters back during the Cold War and World War II. These walls can make communication by cell or radio a challenge depending on where you are in the building. These amplifiers are critical for clear and uninterrupted communication during any public safety emergency. After testing each school, it was discovered that the Huckleberry Hill school system passed completely, but the Summer Street schools did not pass or was inadequate. The Select Board and the School Building Committee fully endorse this critical investment. If the investment is not made, although not required under the building code for additions, the opening certificates most likely will be denied by the building and public safety departments based on the need for public safety in these times. The third is $100,000 for additional parking. Parking and site improvements have been an important focus of this project. Both sites have critical challenges with parking for drop-off and pickup under the current school population. As we add population, the challenges will get harder without maximizing use of the site at both schools. In the feasibility study phase of this project over the last year, improvements were included and endorsed, many parking spaces added and site improvements made. But over the last 6 months, the far more detailed design phase, additional improvements and opportunities were identified to make it even better. This is an opportunity that can only be made during construction. Fourth is $70,000 for sidewalks. The original scope of this project only looked at the school sites as well as the outside drainage issues. The School Building Committee, in its review, acknowledged that the damage that will be done by continuous construction activity on Knoll Road and the need to upgrade the curbs and the sidewalks anyway, these curbs and these sidewalks do not meet ADA compliance. As Knoll Road is the main access to the school, we feel it is prudent during this construction phase to add handicap accessible sidewalks, a new road, as well as new concrete curbing to improve the neighborhood and make it safer for our youngest learners. The route will also now be handicap accessible for not only students, but for parents, staff, and all citizens who use the grounds. The final allocation will be $700,000 increased project contingency. As everyone has witnessed over the last several months, be it in the news or even at our local Home Depot, or if you have done work on your own home, the price of materials and construction costs is an incredible roller coaster, and it has rapidly escalated in recent months. We are clearly bidding in a very challenging time. The proposed increase in the project contingency addresses this issue. We have done our due diligence with 3 cost estimates completed by top firms for public projects over the history of this project development. The most recent estimate would leave only a 3% project contingency. That means the project is still on budget. However, it only leaves a 3% contingency if there are any other issues that we find during the construction process. And there are always issues. If the bid is over the approved appropriation, even by the smallest amount, the town will not be able to sign a contract with a qualified low bidder. This means the project will not happen. It is prudent to add an increased contingency to prevent this from happening in the most challenging times. If the project is delayed because of this, costs will only go up and up. And we will most definitely escalate these costs in all areas, as well as this school committee having to make additional decisions, such as art in the cart for another year, or other actions that you find appropriate that can certainly be avoided this Saturday. If the contingency is not needed to meet the project costs, then it simply by law won't be spent. Article 16 on Saturday in the town meeting warrant shows that in such cases, the town will be asked to rescind borrowing authority to the extent that amount exceeds the amount needed to complete the project. So, as you know, Article 13, because it is a bond, will require 2/3 vote to pass. In a town meeting with a traditional quorum taking place in June, every vote will count. So I thank the board for their consideration.
Thank you. Thanks, appreciate that. And we've had the good fortune of you sharing all of that information with us before that, to the point where I think we are at a point this evening where we can take action. If I could have a motion.
But before we do that, can I just ask one clarifying question? Because I know it is going to come up. And it has come up at school building committee meetings. Can you just clarify, I know, and we've talked about the fact that none of this could have been seen before we started the project. But can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So we did a feasibility process, which is not a design, right? It's basically size, scope, what we need. The drainage work obviously was unforeseen due to the fact that when we opened the ground to do some testing, it realized that some of the work that should have been done 15 years ago was never done. And then as we met with neighbors more and more, out a street, out another street, we got a real history of some of the severe water damages caused incredible property damage, not only to the right and left, but way back on Westover, etc. So the issue came before us that, hey, listen, it's an opportunity to open the ground and fix all these problems, increase property values, quality of life, etc. In some cases, health. So we feel we need to do that. As I said before, the security system is not mandatory in a non-new project or expansion. And when we found that the testing of Summer Street was not up to par, well, obviously in 2021 we have to do that. The parking lot, we did identify plenty of parking spaces, but as the engineers came in, once you brought an architectural firm in and the quality of work were teams of people, they said, hey, you have an opportunity to add some parking spaces here. You have an opportunity to make this a little safer. As you know, up in those schools, particularly Huck, we're fitting 5 pounds of sugar in a 3-pound bag every day. So if we can improve it, the ground's open, let's do it, right? So then we realized, and that was after the design phase, right? During the design phase. The last issue of sidewalks is that if we're bringing trucks up that street every day for 2 years, I think we have an obligation to make it right? And that's something that kind of, you're going to learn. You'll probably learn other things, like on Mill Road in the back. We never knew that flooded also. Way into that football field length from the school. We're going to fix that. The last is project contingency. It would be a complete shame if we're 5,000 off the bid and have to wait another year in this project, in which if you look at stimulus money in the country, the lack of labor, cost, potential for an infrastructure bill, the cost of this project could rise between 5 and 10% in 1 year. And we still have to do it because next year you're going to Art in the Cart, and we know that our school buildings are full. So what we're doing as a building committee, and Jack Dahlstedt, former chairman of the FinCom, has been working with John Schenner and I, who's the volunteer chair, as kind of the finance team with Chris Matea. It is incredibly prudent right now that we give ourselves a bit of a pad that we don't have to use, that is not going to increase taxes, that is not part of the debt exclusion, to hedge that risk before we can begin this project. That we find that's obviously a new situation. But I have to say this, a lot of projects are coming in based on the estimators. Again, there are also a few real outliers. Saugus just bid a project, came in on their projected budget. Brookline High came in $9 million over. We're very happy with the number of contractors that have applied to come in and do the walkthrough. That is a very good sign for out there, very competitive process. And right now we're taking those people that are interested in all the sub-bids and finding out whether they're qualified or not. And we have some really good experienced people. Tepe, the architect, has worked with John and I in my former capacity. They did Galvin Middle School, Reading. Their change orders are less than 3%. We have a great project manager. We're in a really good spot. The world is our problem right now. And we feel good, but we just don't want to miss this opportunity. That's our pitch on Saturday.
So if I could ask, could you also share how it may affect or not affect the tax base?
They will not. No, we're bonding. We have bonding capacity. We have bonds falling off, and we're just using this as a placeholder. We just went through Standard & Poor's, like many private companies, come into Lynnfield and go through our books with a fine-tooth comb. We reaffirmed our AA plus bond rating, which is the second highest bond rating you can have, with a positive outlook. The bonds came in at about 2% interest. As we know right now, it's a great time to borrow. So we want this place marker to not only do this work, but also the contingency. Money's very cheap. We take everything seriously. I don't mean it's cheap in the sense that we should bond everything, but the fact is it's a good time, as it is for private homeowners, to borrow for these type of investments. Again, it's not going to touch the debt exclusion or anything that was voted on last December.
Thanks. Anyone else? Yeah.
So basically, the bottom line is nobody's taxes are going to go up, and if we don't get this, we might not be able to expand the schools.
Correct.
Mr. Hamer.
All right. Move to recommend Article 13 on Saturday's town meeting.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. We'll go to a roll call vote, if I could. Mr. Hamer.
Yes.
Mrs. DeFrizio.
Yes.
Mrs. Dahlstedt.
Yes.
Mr. McQueen.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Mr. Dolan, thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Appreciate the
Thank you.
help.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. It is my pleasure to invite up, we have 5 young women, 4 young women, 3? 3? 3? Okay. 3 young women who I had the pleasure of meeting with, along with a few other young women in the 8th grade, about 6 weeks ago. We met with Mr. Ralston and we had a wonderful conversation around the current dress code policy that we have in the Lynnfield Public Schools, as well as suggestions that they had for me, and I thought this was a great opportunity for them to come and share with you what their thoughts are, and as well as what their recommendations are for possible changes, revisions to the policy, which we would take a look at over the summer with the policy subcommittee. So come on right up, ladies.
And Rich, just as they're coming up, just for the committee's knowledge, I did contact the State Ethics Board under Section 268 of the Mass General Law. Was advised that I can't participate in this, even though I do have a relationship with one of the participants, and have filed a disclosure at Town Hall with the clerk to acknowledge that.
Thank you, Mr. Hamer, for your forward thought with that. And Girls, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Would you
If
like the
could-
video, would you want the video first? Would you like to start with the video?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay, good.
Want to do that? Okay.
Hi, my name is Ella Heyman. Me and many of my friends have experienced issues with the dress code over the last 4 years, and we are not alone. What inspired us to come to you was an incident in class surrounding the dress code. Many of us were in a class recently, and a teacher told this girl in the class that they needed to cover up because it was a co-ed class, and just because it was getting warmer doesn't mean we should wear more revealing clothes. The teacher then proceeded to tell 2 girls that they needed to change or cover up. Neither of the girls were wearing anything inappropriate. Today, each of us will talk about different issues surrounding the dress code. The issues we cover are unequal enforcement, the fact that it is directed at girls, whether clothing should be considered distracting, the current styles as they relate to the dress code, and the fact that it sends a negative message to girls. We also feel that if someone is called out for dress code reasons, it should be done in private. Finally, we have ideas for a new dress code, and we have a dress code draft written up.
My name is Emma Rose, and I would like to talk about how the LMS dress code enforcement is inequitable. The current dress code, as is written, is unfair towards female students, and is also unfairly enforced. For example, a male peer has worn a white tank top to school at least 2 times this spring. He was not approached by a teacher or asked to cover up or change, and was allowed to wear the tank top both days. However, female students' clothing continues to be examined in front of other classmates, and girls are still being asked to cover up if wearing similar tank tops to school. Recently, during a class on Thursday, April 15th, a teacher called out a female student for wearing a hip-length shirt that the teacher said was distracting. This student's shirt was not inappropriate or distracting to anyone. The student in question was asked to put on something to cover that up. That kind of language makes female students feel self-conscious and embarrassed in front of our peers. Female students, like male students, are at school to learn and grow. Girls should not have to also worry about whether or not our outfits are disrupting the educational process of our male peers, which is what the dress code implies. Maybe there should be a discussion about appropriate behavior of all students in school and not just focus on girls' clothing.
In the handbook, it states no clothing or jewelry may be worn which causes disruption or disorder within the school. Then the handbook states that tank tops and shorts and skirts shorter than mid-thigh fall in this category. Tank tops do not cause disruption or disorder within the school. They are not showing anything inappropriate, and are the most comfortable thing to wear in the first few and last few months of the school year, since their second floor does not have air conditioning. Short length does not cause disruption or disorder as well. Saying shorts must come to mid-thigh is not fair. Many people have different body types and different leg lengths. Some people with longer legs might not be able to wear the same shorts people with shorter legs might be able to wear.
When girls are asked to cover up because they're distracting other students, that sends them a bad message. They're basically being told that they should cover up, and if they don't, it'll be their fault if people are distracted by them. The dress code that is currently being enforced teaches girls as young as 10 years old that their bodies are a distraction. When girls in the 5th grade and older are told constantly to stay covered and dress more modestly, it can make them feel self-conscious about their bodies. If the dress code would be changed so it was fair for everyone, then everyone would be included and no one would have to be singled out based on their gender.
Hi, my name is Lily, and me and my friends are looking to make some changes with the dress code, especially at the middle school. And one thing I want to talk about today is that if a student is breaking the dress code and you're the teacher who witnesses it, maybe pull them aside at the end of class or just at a time where no one is really around to politely remind them that they're breaking the dress code and how they're breaking it. Because one time in my experience, in gym class, I got dress coded, and it was for something I was wearing wasn't 4 fingers. And the teacher called me out in front of the whole class, and my face got really red, and I got really embarrassed and insecure. And I wasn't really thinking about the dress code in that moment. I was more thinking about what people would think of me. So if you're gonna tell a student that they are breaking the dress code, just make sure to tell them politely and maybe at the end of class where not everyone is watching them, because it can be really embarrassing if you get called out in front of everyone.
Hi, my name is Bella,
And this is another reason why the dress code should be changed. It is directed at girls. The dress code is mainly directed at girls, while it doesn't apply to all. Most boys' shorts are longer, and they don't typically wear tank tops. The short requirement is way too long. No one owns shorts that are that long, and some people's arms are longer than others.
Hi, my name's Ellie, and I'm going to be talking about the dress code. Something that's concerning and hard for others is finding clothes that fit the dress code, and also the dress code is enforced in many different ways by many teachers. It seems that they all have different ideas of what it actually is. Some enforce it more extremely than others. Finally, clothing is a way people express themselves, and no one should be forced to wear something that brings down their confidence, but instead wear whatever they please under less strict guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching our video. We are now happy to answer any questions you have and discuss our dress code proposal.
Thank you. Would you like to share your proposal?
Yes, I have copies of it for everyone.
That would be great. Wonderful. Excellent.
Excuse me, can you just make sure you turn on your mic there?
Oh, yeah.
No problem.
Oh, is it the gray button?
It is.
Okay.
Front, the large front. The large
Oh, this one?
Right there, yeah. Awesome. This one?
Yes, it's on. Yep.
Should we just read it?
Yes.
Sure. So the dress code draft states, it is expected that students will take pride in their personal appearance. Students' dress should be within reasonable limits and should not be extreme. Personal appearance, dress, or grooming must not disrupt the educational process or threaten the health or safety of any individual. The administration has the right to ask students to change their attire if it disrupts the educational environment.
Clothing which could create an actual disruption or disorder to the learning environment includes, but is not limited to, clothing or jewelry that displays slogans, insignias, or designs that advertise alcohol, drugs, sexual materials, which promotes products or activities that are illegal, profane, or suggested. Clothing or jewelry which is disregarding to others in the school environment and contains slurs regarding race, ethnicity, religion, disabilities, or sexual orientation. Hats or hoods should not be worn in the school building, exceptions for the medical, religious, cultural reasons, or special circumstances.
When in school, students may not wear underwear as outerwear, beachwear, and sleepwear. Repeated violations of that dress code result in consequences.
Any questions?
So if I could, I've been a member of this committee for 5 years, and the increase in students advocating for themselves is something that all levels of students in Lynnfield should be proud of. Between the group we had in from a Healthy Lynnfield a few weeks ago, it was moved incredibly. And what grade?
Eighth grade.
8th grade. I am moved that you have put this together and that you took the time to put that video together to present this to us. The fact that being dress coded is now a verb is something new to me. But I have also been a member of the policy committee for the last 5 years and presently serve on that subcommittee with Mrs. Dahlstead. And what I would like to do is take this document that you provided, this is the first time we've seen it tonight, and take it back and over the summer in our policy work that we do every year, absolutely include this for review and come back before the beginning of the school year and see what adjustments and alignments that the important things that you raised tonight can be changed in the way the policy is drafted and written in our school district. Bravo, girls.
Thank you.
Mrs. Dalston?
Thank you, girls. The video was phenomenal, and just the work that you did to draft this. I thank you, and like Mr. Schoberg said, applaud you for that. And we will certainly review it and give it really great consideration. One other point, though, that I wanted to make, we'll consider obviously updating the policy, but I think another point that was made in your video was the actual enforcement of the policy, and so I think that's something too that we want to give some thought to, is just ensuring that there's consistency, and if someone is called out, it's being done discreetly, so I think that is another piece of this that we want to make sure that we pay attention to. So thank you for bringing this to our attention. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mrs. DePrizio?
I just wanted to say how impressed I was. Your video was not only concise, it was articulate, it was thoughtful, it was engaging. You each gave a piece of it and gave us your perspective. And I think that's what makes it really powerful, because other girls will see you, other peers will see you, adults will see you, and they're going to hear that and they're going to think about the way that they interact with you and how we talk about clothing and bodies and all of those things. So big high five. I thought it was tremendous. Wonderful work. You're welcome.
Mr. McQueen?
Yeah, I just want to congratulate you for your advocacy, for your identifying what is archaic and sexist in the dress code, and also bringing to our attention the need for change. So thank you so much. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've known one of these girls all her life, and the other two since kindergarten. So I am very impressed with what they've done. I think one of the things that two things that jump out to me as I saw this being made. One is the process that they went through with this. So I want to thank Superintendent Vogel for helping them through this process, but also, there were many more students involved than just what you saw in the video, and I think that needs to come out. It was middle school, it was high school students, so I just want to acknowledge that. And I think the other piece of it, we've talked a lot about the work with civics that's going on in the high school or in the middle school, and just acknowledge some of the work and understanding of the process that has gone on that led them to have this conversation and get this going. So, good job.
So, again, thank you. Thank you. You've done very well tonight. And I look forward to talking with you further about it at the end of the summer. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure to welcome Cindy Weeks Bradley, founder and CEO of the Equity Process, along with Elizabeth Ridley, who's also a founder of the Equity Process, to join us this evening to give us a little bit of an overview on the equity audit.
Thank you. I don't know how we're going to follow up after that, but let's try. Good evening, everyone, and thanks for having us here.
Yeah, you're good.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for having us. Okay, so I am Cindy Weeks Bradley, the founder, I don't say co-founders, because I might have started it, but Elizabeth was right alongside me the entire time of the equity process. And tonight what we wanted to share with you was just an overview of how we plan to do business in Lynnfield for the next couple of months. We'll be starting in July and hopefully wrapping up by the end of September. So first of all, I'd like to share our mission, and Liz and I can do this together. So our mission: through social and academic discourse, coaching, leadership, and the implementation of research-based practices, our mission is to create a symbiotic relationship between equity, anti-bias, and cultural inclusivity. So we're not just talking about one piece or the other piece, we're talking about totally inclusive and culturally inclusive, by the way. And when we say culturally inclusive, right now in education we hear often about culturally responsive, how do you respond? We're talking about forget just all of that. We're talking about how do you include. So as the young lady spoke just now, they may feel a bit excluded with the language of the dress code. We'll be looking at things like that, like how do we include all gender, all races, all cultures, all disabilities, so on and so forth, so there is no exclusion.
Our purpose and vision: to disrupt racist and biased practices, policies that create inequities in BIPOC spaces in school communities through collective work and understanding of current, local, and state trends. So it's actually very humbling to follow that. I won't even say young girls, they're young women. Those were young women. And you have 2 Seven Sisters alumni here, so if you want, Mr. Heyman, I will make a phone call. Rosie all over it. And these are exactly the types of issues that we will hope to tackle. Inequity has many faces, as you've just seen. It's not always race-based, and there's a lot of challenges that women face in the public school system.
A little bit about us. So there's this big introduction that I have. You know, Cindy Bradley was born in Barbados. She immigrated with her family to America in 1980. She has all these accolades, right? You can check the website for that. But what's most important to me is that I'm a person who believes in humanity and love and joy and hope, and the spirit just was very clear when I spoke to Kristen and Kevin and Roberta and Curtis and all the people that we've spoken to, the equity committee too. It's just the overall feeling of humanity in Lynnfield, and that's what really brought us here. My mother tends to say I have a farm. I really don't have a farm, but it's important to mention I have 8 chickens, 3 dogs, and 2 cats, along with 3 children and a husband. I think the humans are not a part of the farm, but the animals are.
I myself grew up not too far from here. I was born and raised in Revere, Massachusetts. It took me a while to get rid of that accent. I've been teaching in Massachusetts public schools for long enough that I don't want to date myself. I've had the fortune to teach a wide variety of grade levels and have served as a coach and have worked under this great lady as well.
Yeah, she's a little biased. So, one of our mottos is humanity over politics. So we say that really all the time, and I just want to show you how we kind of look at it as a math symbol: humanity over politics. So every time we come back to politics, we will just gently remind people that we're here for humanity, and it's humanity for all, not 1 or 2. What does an equity audit look like, Liz?
So an equity audit is our internal process of reviewing data. Anyone who does research, it will be both statistical and a little bit of social science research, ethnographic studies. We'll do some focus groups. We'll speak to your educators. We'll speak to all the collaterals within the community. And then we'll look at not only your DESE data, but your teacher level data, your grade level data, your team level data, your content. Looking at academics, what are you teaching? What does the curriculum look like? What current pedagogical techniques are you implementing? What research-based practices are you using? What evidence-based practices are you using? Sometimes there's a distinction made in education. We will also engage in some surveys and casual conversations, as well as looking through your handbook, your policies, your suspensions, and data like that, transportation, and a lot of information. We'll take a look to get that full view of your school community and ways that you can more fully incorporate DEI strategies.
And DEI strategies that are connected to data, just not out of the sky. The other thing that our equity audits do is they also cause people to take a look internally at their own practices and think about how they may want to grow within the Lynnfield Public School community.
So the commitment is reciprocal. It's very much a symbiotic relationship where we look at the lens of intention over the actual impact. We're hoping to work hand in hand with your principals, your educators, your families. We will have one main point of contact for coordination, and we've discussed some of that. However, there will be several members in your community that will need to help facilitate and coordinate the process as we schedule meetings and connect with people within the community. One thing that we'll name very transparently is there is some discomfort sometimes in processes like these, and it's through discomfort that we all know that we achieve the greatest good.
Okay, so one of the things we kind of talked about as an organization is envisioning the experience of students and how they vary. As the 3 young ladies and multiple young ladies in your district just explained, like the dress code, right? Very simple. I love the fact that you came before us, everyone, but thank you again. So one thing we would like you to think about is what might a great experience look like for all students in Lynnfield and not just some. Tonight, we saw you already taking part in that. Due to the recommendations of the audit, we will expect some more of that. And how do we ensure and embrace the notion that students in minority populations can feel safe and actualize their vision of success? So often as adults, we're saying what a child's success should be, but how do we bring them into that envisioning as well? And pretty much that is it. Do you have any questions for us?
Anyone have any questions? Mr. McQueen.
Not really a question, but I just want to say welcome, and I think this is the most important work that we can do in education and the country as a whole at the moment. So welcome. I'm really looking forward to seeing the results of the equity audit.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Heyman?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Please.
I'll take that. I have a question for Kristen. Can you speak to how we are paying for this, or how this is being paid for?
Yep. So, as you all know, that we are receiving some ESSER funds, some federal money, as you know that we have received some federal money, some ESSER money, and one of the requirements of that ESSER money is to be used on equity work within your schools. And so we are using some of the money to fund the audit for that.
Good. Also, I would just like to say welcome, and I'm so glad you're here. So
thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, first of all, I'm excited about this. You know, for those of you who have been watching, this committee knows this started beginning of 2000, or during the summer of 2019, and it's got delayed a little bit because of the pandemic, as did many things. But I appreciate Kristen really accelerating this. I'd love to hear, what are some other districts that you've conducted this work in, and some of the findings and recommendations that generally come out of this type of audit?
So some of the stuff is just confidential, so I won't list district names. But one of the districts we've worked closely in is really looking at the HR policies and auditing HR policies. And some of the recommendations that came out of that was smaller task force that actually recommended changing how people enter the information, demographical information in school spring, as well as how HR receives the information. What they found in that particular district was that a lot of people of color were employed, but they were employed in non-professional positions. So the target was to how to get more people of color to apply to professional positions. And in changing the HR policy and how they looked at applications from the beginning, not just how they employed people and retained them, was one of the recommendations. The other recommendation was for retention. If you hire one person of color and you put them into an atmosphere where they don't feel like they belong, that becomes oh goodness, this mask. That becomes problem. I hate the mask. That becomes, this will be somewhere in the next week saying, Sydney said she hates the mask. Okay. So one of the problems that have people who just leave the district, so how do you then create a commitment to everyone that joins that is a person of color, as well as people that are non-people of color, that we are in this place to belong together and continuing that conversation. So that heavily came out of the equity audit.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Dahlstedt.
Thank you. It's really nice to meet both of you in person.
Thank
So
you.
much about you. One thing that is, I know you mentioned the word inclusion for all. So this just means every student and staff member within the district feeling that they are included, that they are safe. So this is not specific to any one group or groups of people, right? So this is us looking at the entire district. So I just want to thank you for that, because like Mr. Heyman said, we've talked about this for quite some time, right? And then the other piece of this is, so we understand the audit will occur over the course of the next several months, and then the findings will be submitted, presented, I think, to Kristen.
Yeah.
And then we'll have some discussions around what makes sense for us as a district to implement based on those findings.
Correct. It's your choice after that.
Right.
So we just do the piece where we sift through all the data, get the information, create the narrative for you, give recommendations, and then from the recommendations, internally you figure out the next steps on how you choose.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So again, welcome.
Thank you.
I had the very good fortune of parking next to you in the parking lot as we arrived together this evening and meeting you for the first time, having read everything I could about each one of you and each one of your staff members. What I know you will find as you dig into Lynnfield, and not only our school district but our town, is you are going to find a town where the word volunteerism should almost be written in the deed. It is just that pervasive in town. You are going to find a town where every parent will cheer on every student on a field, no matter their own or no matter their neighbor's child on an opposing team. That's Lynnfield. You are going to find a town where the middle school traffic is something that is talked about, but yet we will let our neighbor in the line and we will let them cut in. It is just that kind of place. It is a welcoming, incredible place. And I've said it many times, I feel like I've hit the lottery being able to live there for 18 years. And that's the only bad part. That's not longer. I know you are going to meet a lot of incredible people in this town who will share with you their great experiences in this town. And I look forward to you ingesting all of that information. That is what is so great about our town. And I look forward to the results of whatever you may find, so that we can talk further at that point about whatever it is you may have heard or seen or found or seen in a policy. Or I'm looking forward to that secondary part of this conversation. But I'm sure I'll see you many more times before that comes through. So again, welcome to town.
Thank you very much. And I will say that in all our meetings so far, like everyone who spoke to, driving through, whatever, it has been that kind of atmosphere. So we feel welcome, and I thank all of you for that. So thank you, especially Kevin. Thank you.
I give you a hug.
A good one too. You're a good hugger.
Yes.
Just two things. One, just to confirm, we went through an RFP process for this, correct?
Correct.
That was led by Mr. Geary.
Yes, and Mr. Sear.
Mr. Sear. Okay.
Yep.
And I think it's. I just want to acknowledge. I think everything Rich said about our community is absolutely true. But I think, and I don't think it will surprise you, there's also apprehension in the community for what this could find, and we talk a little bit about what this is and what this isn't. How do you talk to community members about who have that apprehension? I mean, I'm sure you've seen this in many districts. districts.
So one of the things that I'll continue to say is everyone doesn't have to agree. Like, you believe what you believe, but what we're trying to build is a school community, not someone's house. So in saying that, I just feel we have to be open, transparent, and continue the lines of communication. Because sometimes people just feel you're trying to hide something from them, or you're trying to coach their children into doing something that they're not okay with. And like I said, it's about humanity over politics every time, and continue the lines of communication. If you read our website, you know we've been through a lot. Like, we're here, right? You know what I mean? Like, so we literally, you know, figuratively have like thick skin. It's like no sweat off our back. We're used to it. But the bottom line is, if you want to create that community for all students and staff, you have to address, you know, some of the inequities that exist, whether they're students with disabilities, staff with disabilities, you know, whether it's race, whether it's culture, whether it's religion. A lot of that will come out in the findings, and people tend to be truthful. And it's how you handle that truth. Like, do you want to hide from it and pretend like it doesn't exist, or do you really want to address it so you can make sure that everyone in that community feels like they belong? And that's the second part that you all will have to go through after the recommendations have been given.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anna.
See it? Alan?
And if that fails, because she's so good, I'm a Harvard-trained mediator. We're good.
That was a good answer.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Have a great night.
Thank you. Thanks for the welcome. Thank you.
Next on our agenda is Superintendent Vogel will share with us her evidence of her evaluation this year.
Yes, I will. And I'll start by thanking Stephanie Hoban for helping me to put together my video. We really I really very much enjoyed this process of putting this all together and really reflecting back on the year and thinking about, you know, although it seemed all-consuming with COVID, it was really wonderful to be able to, especially since April 5th when students were back in full in person, to really be able to feel like we're really in the classrooms and really seeing the wonderful work that's happening in the Lynnfield Public Schools. So, Drew, I'm ready for my video.
variety show, and I hope, most importantly, that you have tons of fun doing your variety show. I want to remind you every day that you are heroes when you challenge your brain, when you help a friend, when you make a new friend. So the next time you see me in Huckleberry Hill, you make me a superhero. So when you see me, we have to fist pump because I get my powers from all of you.
Question?
So first I would say, having been slightly involved in the Huckleberry Hill Variety Show for a couple of years, that's when you get asked, you cannot say no.
Nope.
So I thank you for that last piece. That it's all part of it. It's all part of it.
Yep.
But I would like to discuss your goals, but I would like to open it up to the committee to see if any members have any questions or comments. Mr. Heyman.
Yeah, I would just say, first of all, I'm glad we're past the days of going through a 2-hour PowerPoint to get to this. I think it did a great job of highlighting what you've done towards your goals. I think what this didn't highlight is how you spent 90% of your time during this year, which is
you stole my line,
which was dealing with a situation that no one's ever dealt with, and especially coming in as a new superintendent. We keep track of where the new superintendents are and how they're doing, what they're doing, how their challenges are, or what their challenges are. I think the fact that we were the first district in the state to have an agreement with teachers to go back, the fact that we never ended up closing all the schools, and the work that you've done with Tony, that should not go unrecognized. I think the other thing that just thinking back to the interview process, and one of the things we talked about is you know how to be an educator. There are certain things that you've just never experienced, though, and one of those is contract negotiations. So just seeing how you were able to, being involved in that process, seeing how you were able to work with the LTA and make sure that their needs were addressed while also addressing the needs of our learners. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't address or acknowledge all of that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mrs. DePrizio.
It did highlight your relationship building, but I'd like to say that I think that should be highlighted even more. I see you take advantage of every opportunity to build a relationship, to reach out when you're meeting someone new, and I think that was very tertiary of the true heart of you really trying to do that in every opportunity, every situation. So I just think that needs to be said, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. McQueen.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think we're all looking forward to actually looking forward and moving forward. But one thing that's really jumped out at me is I love the Samora, the way of communicating, so
yes.
we can communicate with everybody in the community in their first language. I think that's such a powerful, inclusive way of opening up communication and being truly transparent. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
Mrs. Dahlstedt.
Echo what my fellow community members have said so far, but I also would say, in terms of the relationship building, coming in, as Jamie said, as a new superintendent under these circumstances, and working with us as a committee, the ALT, new staff, families, all of it new, and accomplishing some of these goals, despite in spite of having to deal with 90% of your time or whatever it was, a majority of your time spent on the pandemic, and then in addition, being able to accomplish these and build those relationships. I think just under these circumstances was wonderful. So, and I'm very much looking forward to moving forward. Thank you. Agreed.
I said it before, and I will say it every time we talk about the success that you've had this year. We certainly expected you to hit the ground running, but we never expected you to walk through hot coals this first year. The fact that you were able to come in and work the entry plan, I mean, the reopening plan for schools immediately. I mean, that's the first thing we started on day one. And July and August were very difficult months.
Yes.
They were very difficult months. We'll all remember that planning that we would work on for hours would change the moment we signed on the dotted line, and then we would have to literally start again from ground zero. But we were never deterred.
Yep.
We were never deterred. And again, being new and having to establish relationships at every level, not only with the ALT, but the teachers and the students. And in your career, you didn't get to spend as much time with elementary students, and boy, do they love you. It's funny, I will share my little acting moment. Like, I met Mrs. Vogel today. So congratulations on this year. It has been an incredible and a difficult year, but students did well. We could not be prouder of the teachers and the staff of every building. Parents did well. They could not have been more agile and flexible as the year progressed. And just, I would say I could speak on behalf of the community. We're proud that you are our superintendent.
Thank you.
And we also look forward to getting back to the work of educating our children in a normal school year this next year. So thank you.
So as I was putting this together, as you said, 90% of the time was spent, reopening school and from, pivoting and transitioning, and I could have spent all my time doing that. But, what has always been important for me is that, our teachers and our students and our families deserve more than me just spending my time on that, right? So they deserve to have a superintendent who, it was still, despite all that was going on, I was going to keep my eye on the prize, which was their education. And that's what kept me going and going and going, was knowing that. And so, as you all said, I am so looking forward to, and I'm already starting to feel a little bit of that, right? It's busy at the end of the year, it always is every year, but it also is, I always have a great bit of sort of energy and hope as I think about the next school year and all that's to come. So, so thank you so very much, and I too am very proud to be, superintendent of Lynnfield. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, we roll right into your update, if we could.
Yes. Pull up my superintendent's update. A few items for updating. So in terms of high school athletics, there will be spring tournament play. It's a little bit different than has happened in the past. So the MIAA moved to a opt-in for spring sports, and the reason for that was that with the tournament happening so late in June, with very much, for most high schools, a couple weeks after graduation, for many falling the last week of the regular school year, they decided to give schools the option to opt in. So the tournament was open to all teams, no matter what their record. So we have both tennis teams, boys lacrosse, baseball, softball, and a number of our track athletes who will be participating in tournament play starting right around June 17th or 18th is right now the date for the start of the tournament.
Is that the last day is still July 3rd for that?
I believe so. Yeah, if the tournament is going along.
Yep.
Yeah, with the tournament, yes. Some other exciting news, we have been awarded a grant through the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and this grant was led by Maureen Fennessy, who is our ELA curriculum director, and she collaborated with Tess Dever, Becky Shenna, and Kate Mancinelli for consideration of a DESE grant to pilot the Tennessee Foundational Skills Curriculum Supplement It's a free online open source early literacy curriculum supplement that was released in July of 2020. It's a research-based program that was developed by Tennessee district leaders, teachers, and nationally recognized literacy experts David and Meredith Libin. And it serves as a supplement to the existing early literacy curriculum and provides a systematic and explicit approach to sounds first instruction to help all students gain the foundational skills necessary to become proficient readers. Tess, Becky, and Kate have been selected as 3 of 10 experienced early literacy classroom teachers to participate in this curriculum pilot by the Tennessee Foundational Skills Curriculum Supplement by DESE. So it's really, really excellent. They're very excited to start this work, so I wanted to give them a shout out. We also have a Summer Acceleration Academy grant that we have applied to through DESE, which is a grant that would allow for a 1-week acceleration academy for students who have been identified to need to fill some gaps as a result of the pandemic. The plan is to offer it for 1 week in August. Of course, that's pending the grant funding. The focus will be on math and literacy, and Nicole Hyde Bradford and Katie Zampatella will be teaching this Acceleration Academy. I also want to make everyone aware that the summer reading has been posted today on our website, as well as on the district page, as well as the school sites. The goal is to create lifelong learners and enhance student achievement by introducing students to captivating texts. There's both choice as well as required books depending on the grade level, so it varies. And the choices are reflective of our commitment to equity, inclusion, and diversity. We also have a summer job placement program, which is also supplemented by grant money through DESE, and this is something that we have had this spring with our interns that have been in our elementary schools, and this is also in conjunction with the North Shore Workforce Board. So we have been able to fund summer job placements for the community schools program, and we hope to continue this program in the fall pending funding. And also Curtis, our MECO director, has been collaborating with the Boston office, MECO Boston office, to secure employment for some of our Boston students who live in the city as well through this grant. And then finally, the Huckleberry Hill Fun Run, which was supposed to happen today, has been postponed to next week when it is hopefully not 94 degrees, but more like 75 degrees. So we are looking forward to that. And that is what I have for my update.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next on the agenda, we have public participation, and it's always nice to see faces in the audience. We do have a public participation policy, which I will gladly share. Glasses are foggy. The school committee desires individuals to attend its meetings so that they may become better acquainted with the operations and programs of our local public school. In addition, the committee would like the opportunity to hear public comment on items that are within the scope of the school committee's responsibilities. The public comment agenda item is reserved for this purpose. Public comment is not a discussion, a debate, or a dialogue between individuals and the school committee. It is an individual's opportunity to express an opinion on issues within the school committee's authority. To ensure the ability of the school committee to conduct the district's business in an orderly manner, the following procedures are adopted. Members of the public wishing to address the committee are expected to follow these guidelines. At the start of the committee meeting, we ask individuals sign in for an opportunity to speak. The public comment section should not exceed 15 minutes, but all speakers are encouraged to present their remarks in a respectful manner. The chair will recognize those wishing to speak and give them the floor. Only persons recognized by the chair may speak. For purposes of the minutes, speakers should identify themselves at the beginning of their remarks. The purpose of the public comment is to receive input from the community, not to engage in conversation with the committee. The chair will ensure that any comment or question that requires a response from the committee or the school department will be addressed in a timely manner. All comments should be addressed through the chair and not to any individual committee member or others in attendance. Speakers are expected to respect confidentiality. This includes the confidentiality of their own children, as well as school staff or personnel. Speakers are allowed up to 3 minutes to present their material and must begin their comments by stating their name and address. The chair may permit an extension of this time limit in extenuating circumstances. Topics for a discussion should be limited to those items within the school committee's scope of authority. The authority of the school committee primarily concerns the review and approval of the budget of the district school, the performance of the superintendent, and the educational goals and policies of the district. Comments and complaints regarding school personnel, apart from the superintendent, or students are generally prohibited unless those comments and complaints concern matters within the school committee authority. The chair of this meeting, after warning, reserves the right to terminate speech which is not constitutionally protected because it constitutes true threats that are likely to provoke a violent reaction or cause a breach of the peace or incitement to imitate lawless conduct or contains obscenities. Written comments longer than 3 minutes may be presented to the chair before or after a meeting. All remarks will be addressed through the chair of the meeting. Comments made during the public comment portion of the meeting do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the entire school committee. Thank you. Do we have anybody who may like to participate in this evening's public participation section of our meeting? Mr. Kimball.
Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I was going to, but I was afraid I was going to cough through these terrible allergies. But thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Happen anyways. Good evening, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I'm Jason Kimball. I live at 17 Pocahontas Way in Lynnfield. I'm here in a personal, not professional capacity tonight. I believe it is fair to say that racism should not exist, especially in our schools. I think we agree that no one should be treated differently, be it better or worse, based upon the color of their skin. In other words, no privilege or discrimination should be granted or forced upon a person because of the color of their skin. I understand that the school committee is going to proceed with an equity audit in the public school system, and that critical race theory is going to be added to the curriculum at some point. Mr. Chairman, may I approach and present to you a letter which is signed by approximately 100 Lynnfield residents, please?
Sure.
Thank you. I have copies for all committee members. Want me to hand them out?
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to briefly discuss the contents thereof for the audience here and for those watching elsewhere. Naturally, we have a lot of questions on this. There are a number of Lynnfield residents that are confused and unaware of exactly what the equity audit is and why it is needed. I understand that it was discussed earlier, but a lot of the points to me were very vague. What is the purpose? What is the intent? What exactly is going to happen in an equity audit? Will students be polled? Will teachers be polled? Will parents be polled? And what will they be polled about during this audit? It seems that there are already plans to implement critical race theory in the public schools even prior to the audit being conducted. Has a determination been made that systematic racism already exists? If so, what facts support this finding? If there has been a finding, what do we need an audit for? What is the real intent and purpose behind critical race theory? It is the opinion of the board that LPS are racist or culturally incompetent. Is that the general idea here? Well, let me tell you, I'm white and I'm not racist. I've seen some of the suggested reading material on various town websites, such as Waking Up White. The title of the book certainly sounds racist to me. The author is saying that because a person is a certain color, they do or do not do things in a certain way. To characterize an entire ethnicity based upon the color of their skin is racist to me. I've heard the various defense buzzwords such as white fragility, internalized white supremacy, and unconscious biasness. Much like the book I just referenced, these are terms labeling an entire ethnicity based upon the color of their skin As stated in my opening, I believe that is racist. These neo-racist theories have no place in public education or in any form of government. Critical race theory teaches children that they are defined by their race, not as individuals. Critical race theory teaches children to hate each other and hate their country. Critical race theorists have the right to express their beliefs as individuals. They do not have the right to use taxpayer money to indoctrinate children. Critical race theory is not a free speech issue. It's a compelled speech issue. Public schools don't have the right to violate a child's conscience, in my opinion. We must prioritize excellence, which inspires people from all racial backgrounds to achieve their potential. Our goal is diversity without division. At this point in time, I would request that there be further information produced by the school committee in-depthly explaining what this is. I have a first grader. Is he going to be asked questions? What's going to happen? What is the in-depth rollout? I request that the school committee have a hearing where you discuss this in-depthly, and we have more than a 6-minute presentation of vague comments. I think the public is very much entitled to that. Again, there's about 100 people that have signed this letter. There is a ton of people, and that's just in 48 hours. There is a ton of people, they digitally signed it. There's a ton of people that are very concerned and have lots of questions about this, and they want to know what's going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Kimball.
Thank you.
Is there somebody else who would like to speak this evening? About any topic that we've worked on or that is upcoming? Anybody? Thank you. I would ask for a motion to close the school committee meeting.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?